Hi, my name is Dr. Rebecca Schaefer, and I am at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I'm an associate professor of pediatrics and a clinical psychologist. So, today I want to talk to you about mindfulness strategies for kids with developmental disabilities and how to utilize them to decrease stress during this time of heightened stress, as well as all the time. Mindfulness is a great skill for all children to be able to use, as well as their families. All right, so what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is being present in the here and now. It's really focusing on what's happening around you and not being distracted by what may have happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. We frequently use all five senses during mindfulness to really ground ourselves. And we adapt this for developmental disability. So it doesn't look exactly the same as it would for an adult who's typically developing or another child who is typically developing. So we want to make it as concrete as possible. We're not going to do a lot of strategies in our own mind where we're sitting with our eyes closed and thinking intently, just because that's going to be a lot harder. So we're also going to make it more verbal. So we want to make it concrete, verbal, and then we want to model it and do it together as frequently as possible. It's not always an individual activity for individuals with developmental disabilities. So the first strategy I want to share with you are some breathing skills. So this one is called triangle breathing. And what you're going to do with this is put your finger on the sun and you're going to breathe in, hold, and then breathe out. So one more time, we're going to breathe in, hold, and breathe out. So we would want to practice this maybe 3 to 5 times. We want to do it slowly like that. Kids sometimes speed it up a little bit, and it's really important that it's slow and controlled. Deep breathing is really important because it gives more oxygen to our brain. It slows us down, gives us something to focus on. And this breathing strategy is a great example of making breathing more concrete. So we're actually going to look at a process for doing it. We're going to trace it with our fingers. We're going to make it more active so that the child is more engaged and they have something to follow. The next strategy is called mindful looking. So you do this with a partner and you're going to look at a picture or go outside or look out the window. I would encourage you to set a timer for about 2 to 5 minutes and take turns labeling what you see. So you're just going to focus on what you see. You're not going to talk about anything else, and each person gets a turn to label and you just go back and forth. So the goal again is to focus on what you see outside. You might think about other things, and that's okay, but try to bring your mind back to looking and labeling. So I want to give you a quick example. So let's say I'm outside with my daughter, and I might say, I see a tree. And she would say, I see a bird. I see a car. I see a flower. So that I see piece is a little bit repetitive, but it's actually really helpful because it grounds them in the activity. And so this just makes it concrete. We're focusing on what we see, but we're actually labeling it verbally and sharing it out loud. It becomes an interactive piece. We're both doing it together. Kind of like a glorified I Spy game, maybe even a little bit more simple than I Spy. But this is really fun for families to do together. You can do it in the car, which can sometimes be a tough time for kids. You can take turns labeling what you see out the window. You can go outside and do it, look out the window, pull up a really pretty picture on your computer, or a really complicated picture with lots of different things, and you can label what you see. If you've ever been to Cincinnati Children's, most of our rooms that you're in for visits have these really cool pictures that are like huge hidden picture games, like in a highlights magazine. And they are really fun to do it with. So labeling what you see in that picture, I see an ice cream cone, I see a car. So anything like that is a great option for mindful looking. At the end of the activity, you want to ask, how do you feel and what did you notice during this? And that's actually going to be the key questions that you ask throughout all of these activities. The next one is mindful eating. So the goal is really to focus on the entire experience of eating and all of the steps involved. So this can be done with any food. I do like to start off the first one with something that could melt. So a Hershey Kiss is a really great option. An M&M could be another good option. Any piece of chocolate that's going to melt in their mouth. But if they don't like chocolate, that's okay. You can use something else. You're going to walk your child through looking at the piece of food first. So before you give it to them, say, I'm going to give you a piece of candy, but we're not going to eat it right away. They need that warning because whenever we get candy, we all just open it up and start eating it. So give them a warning first, and then you're going to tell them to put it in their hand and focus on all the things you see about it. So this can be done internally in their own mind, or they can verbalize it out loud, whatever's best for your child. We're going to focus on how it feels in our hand. Notice the weight, notice the way the wrapper feels. We're going to put whatever the food is next to our ear and move it around. Notice if you hear anything. Put it by your nose and smell it. And when we do this, we're going to take 2 deep breaths smelling it. So breathe in and then do it one more time and notice the smell. Then we're going to open it up and notice how it feels after we open it. And if it doesn't have to open, so if it's like a chip or something like that, that's okay. The next step would be to put it in your mouth. So now put it in your mouth. Notice how it feels on your tongue, on your cheek, on your teeth. We're not going to chew it up right away. Notice it as it melts. And then at the end, you're going to ask, what did you notice? How did you feel? So the melting piece is important because we're actually going to try really hard to just sit with it with our eyes closed while it melts. For some kids, that's just not going to be possible, and that's okay, as long as they're able to do the really focusing in steps of the other ones. So I have kids who like to do this more with crunchy foods, kids who like to do it more with fruit snacks, ice cream, cake, any of those options. Usually eating is a little bit more comfortable and kids are more willing to do it than some of the other activities. So it's a great place to start to build some mindfulness skills. So mindful movement is the next one. The goal is to focus on your body as you move. So we would start off with trying multiple movements to see what's the best fit for your child or teen. So do 2 minutes of really slow movements like yoga or stretching. Then do 2 minutes of really fast movements like running or jumping jacks. And as they're doing it while the timer's going, kind of prompt them to think about their breathing, think about how your body feels. Notice how your mind is focusing or not focusing. And then at the end, we're going to comment on what we noticed and how we felt. Ask your child or teen, which one did you like the best? Which one helped you to focus better? For some kids, that's going to be slow movement. For some kids, that's going to be fast movement. And then use that one going forward for their mindful movement. So if jumping jacks was the best fit, then just do jumping jacks going forward. So this last one is using all 5 senses for mindfulness. So we might do this outside, we could do it inside. A little bit more options when you're outside in terms of what you hear and smell and see, but you can really do it anywhere. So tell me 3 things you hear right now. Tell me 3 things you smell. Tell me 3 things you see. Tell me 3 things you feel or touch. And tell me 3 things you taste. And then for this one, you're just going to go through each of these. This is actually a really quick activity that you can do to kind of trigger them out of something that is upsetting to them or they're starting to get upset. Hey, let's just take a break. Tell me 3 things you hear. Tell me 3 things you smell. So it can be a nice quick trigger to change the progression. So finally, I want to share some tips for starting a mindfulness practice at home. Make it really a fun game. Don't make it seem like homework or an activity that they have to do. We want to practice it multiple times a day when calm. This is not something that you bring out brand new when they're upset because they're just not going to have the ability to implement it. But if we practice it frequently when they're calm, then we build muscle memory so that they can do it when they're more upset. Use a reward for practicing if needed. If you have a really resistant kid, that mindful eating is a great place to start because it's easy. The breathing exercises are also a nice, easy starting place. Allow your child to choose which one to practice once they've learned them all. And then finally, I want to really encourage you to practice it with them. So that serves the purpose of modeling it so that they see someone else doing it. But also, parenting is hard. Parenting during a pandemic is hard. Parenting a child with developmental disabilities is sometimes hard. So building your own mindfulness practice is a great strategy for a parent. It can help you focus in on the here and now, not get too caught up in your worries, as well as just keep you calm. So I really encourage you to start a mindfulness practice at home with your child and do it with them so that you're both getting the benefit and you're starting to learn some really nice calming strategies. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, this was helpful and good luck as you start your mindfulness practice.